I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day.
You heard it here first. Bitcoin is going to zero.
So as you can imagine, Bitcoin is dead. It's not, but I want to talk about the psychological stuff around when people post articles, when people do stupid videos declaring it's dead. But not only that, but the top side as well, the greed as well. There's a lot of articles I want to go through on the screen in a second, but first we're going to go back to the COVID crash. This video idea stems from Learning Crypto. On the live stream we were talking about it, how you feel when, you know, the market's against you. And usually it is in most cases. You feel pretty bad because one, your money's down the swanny, two, articles left, right and centre, videos left, right and centre, bearish content, it's dead. It's not going to come back. It's a Ponzi scheme. You can go on and on and on. We're going to go over it. So, looking back here on March the 8th, 2020, like, what? We're not even that far away, realistically, in terms of grand scheme of things, right? Life-changing things happen for a lot of people, whether it's good or bad, right? Go on to the next week, you can see an even bigger drop in the market. You see these huge, huge candles, right? But realistically, that was kind of the bias flip that you got to get. Weekly levels are always key. Looking at support levels, always key. If you're thinking long term, it's not too bad. A lot of people come back into the market or weren't even aware of cryptocurrency at this point because the prices were low and it seemed like a hole that you couldn't get out of. So make sure you understand that. So let's talk about a few things. Now, credit to 99 Bitcoin. This is a pretty cool website. I like to laugh and look, and we'll go through it, right? Now, the death of Bitcoin is well renowned, right? It's all over the place. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere, right? And even when we're looking at this stuff now, like we can see and we can pinpoint when things are like, you know, interesting. Look at these 36,000, quite a lot, 3 within that time period. Go 6 months later. This is why I'm saying it has a lot on the tops as well, because guess what? Market manipulation, right? Still a thing. And it's because people want things cheap. If things have run a lot, you're going to start noticing a lot of people go against it. It's always good to be bearish when it's bullish. That makes sense. So at the tops, start looking at the bearish content. You may well find something within that. And overly bullish stuff, the greed, often gets washed out, right? So more often than not, you're going to start noticing that the bearish content, when things are really bad, you often find where the reversals happen. You also find when certain things are also stead, you know, there's also other reversals as well. So you got to look at certain things. Bad news will always draw the market in. There's another one recently. Bitcoin will run out the greater fools. Now, looking back and looking through this, you can go through and you can see the whole timeline of this, right? And you can see the price points of when things are kind of interesting. Obviously, crashes. People always want things low. So you got to look at the news and think, well, what are they saying, where they're coming from? And you can see this very, very quickly. Like this one was literally the top call. Literally the top call. Crazy when you think about it. So the news is important, but it's also psychological, right? But when Bitcoin is declared dead and you are at monthly or weekly levels of support and it's already done huge correction, maybe that is a point to look at this. And I mentioned this in a previous video not too long ago. The fear and greed, right? When people are fearful, people are going to be selling into losses. It's going to hurt them quite a lot. And obviously, we're going to start looking at potential corrections in the market, reversals, right? So that is good. But when you start tying the fact of the fear and greed into it alongside media articles, Bitcoin is dead, Ethereum's elaborate Ponzi scheme, Luna's a pile of poo, all that kind of stuff, right? You're going to get some interest. Now, obviously, opinions hurt. And I often give opinions on Twitter and people get fuming with me, but it's an opinion. But when it's a media offering an opinion with a massive base and like millions of, you know, let's be honest here, aggregate content here. So let's just say Bloomberg will do one article. Bloomberg will then reach out to 10 to 50 to 100 potential little news outlets. And then you got Twitter, Facebook, then you got people talking about the news and you got all kinds of distribution kind of network effect that happens. That's a lot worse than Muggins here saying, hello, I think that's a crap coin because it's done this. You get the picture? So you've got to be careful. And this is what this is all on. The fear and greed, if you've never read it, make sure you do. It is essentially about the media, the overall sentiment on socials, the price. it's really interesting. So you can see here the data sources: volatility, market momentum, social media, surveys, which are currently paused at the moment, dominance, and obviously the trends, Google trends and stuff, right? So it's a real good bias. But let's talk about not so much the fear. I think fear is easier to handle personally, my personal opinion, because I think experience for me of living it and being in it for like a number of years now, I understand the fear side because I'm looking long term, maybe because I've already made good money, maybe I'm already settled, I'm happy. But if you're new and you put a new capital in, I can imagine the fear side of it being pretty horrendous, because I can go back to like 2016, 2017 when I first bought. I remember when I first bought some altcoins and I bought like all kinds of stuff, and like we had a massive correction. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. It was like a 50% correction. It's the first one I ever really experienced. I was like, oh wow. Even then I didn't know what I was doing. And obviously things develop and change, and over time you get experience. But the one thing that I think people struggle with more is the greed, which we're going to talk about now, okay? So by the way, let me make this clear. I'm not an investor in this asset and I don't hate this asset. I think it's a good asset, but I'm going to talk about Zilliqa briefly because I think the greed is important to talk. Now, this did this very quickly. People were getting very greedy. People were buying these. People were not taking profit. People were getting caught up in the emotions of it's going to go to $1, it's going to go to $2, it's going to go to $3 very quickly. 9 times out of 10, that doesn't really happen, right? Some things do, some things carry on going. But we're talking small amount of time, big amount of gains. It's a lot different to going, oh, Zilliqa's going to go up to like $1, $2, $3. It could very easily over time. But if you are telling someone, right, this is what the shoe that you need to be in. This is the shoe. If you are person A who's telling people it's going to go up to certain prices, and let's just say person in that shoe has bought here 17, 18 cents, right? And it doesn't happen and they're now in a loss. They're going to be really pissed off. They're going to be like, no, it's not. It's just going to carry on melting. And they'll be in despair. But realistically, you got to look at the bigger picture. It might well go much higher, right? So I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying the obvious. Don't make people fall into the emotional trap of your excitement. You may well have held on to Zilliqa all the way down here. You might have been investing in Zilliqa when I was buying Zilliqa around here, right? Realistically, doesn't matter what this pump does, but to the new investor, it's a whole new ballgame. It's a position they do not want to be in. So fear and greed is massively important, right? This is why I always say, buy the low, sell the highs. You know, sell the rip, essentially, what they say. So just be careful. Anyways, that's me, I think, done today. So yeah, when things are high, look to sell. When things are low, look to buy. It's kind of obvious, but the news will point you in a direction. The fear and greed will help you. And also sentiment on Twitter. If people are getting far too excited very quickly, or they get really offensive when, let's be honest here, my opinion really matters to them, maybe it's a time to sell. It's a good gauge.